welcome to a long overdue game dev video update. So while I've been gone, needless to say, I've been pretty busy with life, school, this and that, everything. But that doesn't mean I haven't been working. Last semester, I took an independent study on the basics of game development, and using Java, I worked on a 2D tower defense game. And this semester, I'm working with a group for my capstone in my major, converting that game from 2D to 3D. However, instead of telling you what I did for the past few months, I'd like to show you. So let's see what's under development. As I said before, I'm working on a tower defense game, and for those of you who don't know what a tower defense is, it's a subgenre of the RTS, or real-time strategy, genre of video game. It became popular with the video games Warcraft 3 and StarCraft as map mods, and has been taking internet flash games by storm recently. The basic idea of the game is that you have a grid, and on this grid, enemies start from one end and move their way over to the other, to some sort of goal that they're trying to reach. And it's your job to place down towers that will either block their path or destroy them before they can get to their goal, thus allowing you to win the game. Once we go into the demo, I'm going to show you the first version, the 2D version of the game, Java Defense Classic. And I'll try to explain kind of what's going on underneath and what you see and what you don't see while it's going on. Then from there, I'm going to go into the 3D version and show you what we have so far and how it relates to what the 2D version was, and where we plan to go with the 3D version. So without wasting any more time, let's go right into the demo. So what you're looking at here is the two-dimensional version of Java Defense, Java Defense Classic. This is what I worked on for my independent study last semester, and the purpose of the independent study was simply to get myself familiarized with basically how to go about developing games and all the underworking things that need to be incorporated to make games work as a developer. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start it up, and right now I'm just going to let the enemies, which you see here spawning now, just go across the screen. I'm going to explain a little bit to you what's going on underneath. Right now the enemies are moving across the screen using an algorithm called A*. It's a pathfinding algorithm used mainly with grids that basically tells, well, the enemy gets a path, the quickest path from start to finish, and calculates that and moves along the path. And every time it reaches a new, what we call node, or a grid point, it calculates the path again, and that allows us to change the path on the fly in case there's a tower in the way. And now, as you can see here, we're letting the enemies go through, and as I said earlier, if they do, it's game over. If you didn't notice on this side of the screen, there were lives that were ticking down every time an enemy got to the other corner. And once this guy gets there, you'll see a game over window pop up. As you can see, I started a new game and I decided to put down some towers, and the way you put down towers is based on how much currency you have up here and how much the tower costs. For example, a basic tower costs 4, so you can place it since we have enough gold, and it just goes to work. It's a very kind of hands-off type environment, since once you place the towers down, they do the work. But the way that happens is all powered by what are called state machines, and state machines are basically the fundamentals of artificial intelligence, especially in this setting. They determine what anything is doing at any given point when the underlying game clock is ticking. Basically, it determines when an enemy is moving, receiving damage, when a tower is firing, or it could be anything like that. And what I said before about the game clock, underneath everything there's a constant heartbeat, as I call it, going on underneath the game. And every time the heartbeat ticks, something happens in the game. It calls all of all the enemies, the towers, it tells them to do whatever they're supposed to be doing in whatever given state they're in. And that's basically how the game runs on the whole. Like I said, it's very hands-off. The user just places the towers and lets the towers go to work. And hopefully in the 3D version there's a little bit more strategy involved, because right now all I have is a couple towers down and everything's getting destroyed. So from here, I'm going to switch it over and I'm going to show you the 3D version of Java Defense. Here is the early version of Java Defense 3D, and as you can see, instead of a 2D grid, we have a fully realized three-dimensional grid with complete with rotating camera, and you can zoom in and out as you wish and reset the view. Another little feature we decided to add was a hover over feature with a little highlight. That way you can tell where you are on the grid, and this will help later when we're actually placing specific towers down. You can pinpoint exactly where you want to place them. As of right now, if I were to click on a little grid square, a little gray block would appear, and that is right now just a stand-in tower. It doesn't do much beyond block enemies' paths from one corner to the other. Speaking of which, if I were to hit the enemy button down on the bottom here, you'll see the enemy will start to make its way down to the bottom of the grid. But if I were to make him change direction, he will find a new path and go along that path. And enemies will always find their way to the goal. And we've also prevented the user from blocking the path. That way there's no issue with enemies not being able to get there. They'll always find their path, and it's your job to make the best maze to kind of deter them from that path the best way possible. Now, as far as what we have planned later, because this is all we have right now, we do want to add function to our little gray blocks here so that they'll start shooting at the enemies, stopping them from even getting to the corner here. And we will eventually start adding in, you see some texture work here, but we will start adding in some unique models for the enemies and towers, as well as adding a user interface, kind of similar to the way the 2D one was. But this is as far as we have here, but I think our next step will be to add function to the towers. First of all, what you can expect is definitely more of these episodes coming out soon. What I'd like to do is take the project, the 3D project, and follow it through the rest of its development period. And whenever there's any big changes or anything that drastically changes how the game works from video to video, I'll post a new one to show you kind of the entire process from beginning to end. As far as other projects are concerned, this is kind of where I'm keeping my time and effort right now, but beyond that, anything is really possible. I hope you all enjoyed the return of the Game Dev video update, and I hope you'll continue watching during the development stages of Java Defense 3D. We're really excited about what it's turning into and where it's going to go, so I hope I can share that excitement with you. Other than that, if you have any questions on what you saw in the video, how I coded anything, what APIs I used, my methods, other than everything like that, feel free to leave a comment right down there or send me a message. Also, feel free to subscribe. I could always use more of those. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time.